All these plow videos are beginning to start the same way. But I guess it's not too big of a deal because this tractor sounds... Oh, I love this tractor. Like, I can't even begin to describe how much I love this tractor. Yeah. I think I'm gonna see if I got enough room to move this back a hole though, get a little more lift out of that thing, because she's still down kind of far, like a little further than I'd like. But I had some guys asking why I'm knocking this down to a 5 instead of trying to pull a 6. And in all honesty, either one of the 19s would probably pull a 6 in 75% of the ground around here, maybe. You might get away with it in like 90-95% of the ground. The thing is, you would be working the ever-loving, like this field right here, that low spot right there is some of the hardest yellow clay you will ever see in your life. It just rolls over, and no matter how dry you work it, the smallest you'll ever get to break up is like the size of Legos. It just, that ground is fucking hard. And you know, these tractors are 50 something odd years old. That's a 68. The 55 is a 71. Nearest we can tell, it's got no serial number tag, but they both lived their life once, and I'm asking to do it again. And if they're gonna do it, they might as well have an easy go of it. Like that right there, I took that to a plow day 2 years ago with my buddy's 565, 5-bottom, 5/16s, and third gear, any shift I wanted all day long, and in the lighter spots I could shift up to 4th and just haul ass, and it was it barely even knew that plow was back there. 5-bottoms around here on that tractor is perfect, and my 1955 is the same way. And I'd rather pull a little easier on them and be able to jump up a gear or have spare shifts in case I need them than to have them maxed out and just pulling them as hard as they can all the damn time. And I don't know, it's not like I'm going out and mollboarding 1,000 acres a year with them. 5-bottom is more than enough, and actually in most of the small fields I got, 5-bottom more ideal than a 6 anyhow, because it's more maneuverable. So that's the reason we're going to the 5 instead of a 6. But I'm gonna move this thing down to the house and just park it by the barn so that I don't gotta walk as far. I'm gonna pull all the coulters off of it, start working on those. I was hoping to get them all, or get the majority of them done today, but the place I stopped to get bolts was out of the size I needed, so I have to stop at Rural King tomorrow and get them on the way home from work. I jumped that bolt back hole, see if that makes any bit of difference. That's better. I'd like to see a little more out of it, but I don't know if I'm going to get another hole. So, we'll go with that and see what it does. Alright, well, I got them all off the plow. And I noticed when I took them off that this one, the yoke and the Coulter arm and everything are all, they're not in the greatest shape. So I'm going to, this is the one with the busted shank. So I'm going to replace that shank with the one, that's the parts Coulter. I took that apart yesterday. I'm going to replace that shank here and then use that Coulter yoke to rebuild this guy, so that I don't got to work, because that's slopped out right there. The guy that had this plow didn't really believe in a grease gun, otherwise some of the stuff would be not nearly as whopped out. So, and I think I might take this spring possibly. Which one of these? I thought one of these things, the spring looked weird. Oh yeah, that one right there. That spring's broke. So probably gonna take that spring and yeah, I guess I don't even need to replace tension rod as long as that stud doesn't break. Actually, it's a bolt, even better. As long as that doesn't break, I'll probably just take that spring off and replace it with that one, and make 5 good sets here. Or well, I guess there's only 4 here, and then I got the Coulter on the drawbar that will need replaced, or not replaced, repacked. But that shouldn't be an issue. I don't think it's that bad, but anyway, get all these guys apart, see where I'm at. Well, I've got 4 somewhat workable Coulter arms and yokes and everything. These poor things could be an entire project in themselves. They're not as bad as the one that I shit can. That one's the worst of all 5 of them, but they're all pretty tired. You'd almost have to go in there and bore them and press a bushing in to get them back on size for the, because it doesn't seem like the shanks are wore too bad, but the castings that the arm and the shank and everything go to, they're pretty rough. Like I say, that could be a, that pin's junk. You can probably tighten up that particular spot a lot just by buying new pins. That pin's junk. That pin's not bad. That pin's probably junk. Well, like I say, these poor Coulters can be a... need to replace that cotter pin. That one's a roll pin. That one's a... I'm betting that those are supposed to be roll pins. That would make more sense. Might drive some roll pins in there. Get rid of them cotter pins, because that just doesn't seem heavy enough for what they're doing. Probably why that one was missing. So, got all those. Next step's going to be to get all the Coulter hubs cleaned up and the bearings cleaned up and figure out which ones are the best ones. And this has actually got 2 styles of Coulter arms and Coulter hubs, or at least Coulter hubs. I don't know if the bearings are different or not, but some of them have this tapered landing right here, and then like this one it's flat, and the ones that are flat have, well, that bearing cap is stamped, and that goes on the one that's tapered. And then which one of these? Yeah, that one. This guy is cast, and that goes on the one that's flat. So, you gotta make sure to keep those, because I don't know exactly what the difference is, but that was what differentiated what goes where. So, I don't know if the hubs are different too. but you got to keep the cups and cones together anyhow because they're wore to match, so you can't mix any of that up. So everything will go back together. It doesn't necessarily matter which arm they go to, as long as the stamped ones go on the ones with the taper landing and the cast ones go on the ones with the flat landing, but it doesn't necessarily, the hub that came off, it doesn't necessarily have to go back on it, because all those are the same, other than how they're built. So, anyway, I'm going to clean my mess up and probably call her a day, because I got to go home and make dinner yet. So, we will continue this tomorrow. I tell you what, I don't understand how you guys that farm sand ground keep your shit held together. Those hubs are just nasty. This one right here, well, I managed to find 8 good, I took 5 hubs apart, managed to find 8 good bearings. So I've got enough to put 4 coulters together, which is what I need, because the one on the drawbar I haven't taken apart yet, but it feels alright, so I'm not even going to take it off the drawbar. I'll just pop the hub off and pop it all apart and leave the Coulter arm and everything on there and just rebuild it right there on the plow. But the first, somehow managed to grab the worst one first, and I'm pretty sure it's the one that came off of the shank that's all busted up, or that's all wallered out and messed up. And I took it apart, and it's that hub right there. I started cleaning the bearing, and the cage the whole thing just fell apart. Cage came off, all the rollers came out, that bearing was junk. And what had happened is, probably the light down here sucks. I got to work down here because Dad's got a project going and he's got every inch of bench space up in the shop taken. I don't know how well you can see it, but this surface right here is where that seal's supposed to run. It's wore paper thin, and that's what that one looks like. And then this one, or one of the, grab one of these. You can tell how much more meat is in that compared to, I don't know if you'll be able to see it or not. You ought to be able to. You can see how much is wore off of here compared to how much is wore off of here. Just, that hub is junk. So, I started taking it apart. It was still before 5 o'clock, so Dad called the bearing warehouse that he deals with a lot, and his salesman looked up the numbers, and Timken bearings, which are the ones that are in it are Timkens. It's $30 for the cone and $7 or something odd, $7 and some change for the cup. So $38 a side for Timkens, or NTNs are about $23 a side, $24 a side. So I'm looking at somewhere between $250 and $300 to put 10 new bearings in here. It's not even worth it, because even on every one of these hubs on the back side, there's a groove worn where that seal runs, and I guess I shouldn't even, it's not even really a seal, it's more of a dust shield. But they're all grooved, so if you put new bearings in there, it's just going to tear the lip up anyway. And really, the cups aren't, they're discolored from, there was water sitting in all these things. They're a little discolored, but they're not pitted. They feel fine. And all the bearings are, I wouldn't put them in a turbine, but all the bearings except for, where's that? Seriously. Oh, that guy right there. That one, the lip rolled, but I'll put that on the inside that the hubcap goes on, and that'll be fine for now. What Dad and I just kind of talked about, and it's not going to happen this year because I really don't want to dump another $400, $500 into these coulters because of what we're going to do. But we talked about coming in here, knocking that cone out, well, knocking both cones out because we're going to replace them. But going in here and actually boring this out oversized and pressing a new sleeve in to press the cone in into and give you a new running surface for that seal, so that I don't have to hunt down new hubs. And then I primed the inside of the hubcaps because they were all, the stamped ones were really nasty. The cast ones weren't so bad, but I primed them all anyhow. So anyway, got enough parts to get 4 decent Coulter assemblies together. So, but I'm gonna work on that tomorrow, because by the time I get all the shit drugged down here and get started, it's gonna be pushing 7 o'clock, and I still gotta go home and do some adult things at the house. So adulting sucks. Well, it's not necessarily adulting that sucks, it's lack of time to do the fun stuff and the adulting at the same time that really sucks. But anyhow, we'll start reassembling these guys tomorrow. Shouldn't take that long now that all the hard parts out of the way. So we'll catch y'all tomorrow afternoon. Alright, well, finally have time to throw these things together. And for once, mostly because I already know what I need, for once I actually have everything drug out that I need to do this, so I don't got to keep running and getting tools. So, now, on these bearings, I gave up trying to keep them straight as to putting them in the same hub in the same races, because they're all the same. So even if I kept them with the same hub, you could flip-flop them front to back and not know it. Before anybody says anything or does anything, if you're doing this to wheel bearings, first off, if you pull wheel bearings apart and they look like this, replace them. These are Coulters. They're not going to kill anybody or hurt anything if they fall apart. I doubt they're going to fall apart, especially as slow as they're turning, but just saying. If you're doing this with wheel bearings, make sure the same bearing goes back with the same race. I just want to clarify that right now, so that nobody starts mixing stuff up and they have a wheel fall off and they come back on me and say, well, I saw him doing this on you. No. Don't do this with wheel bearings. You can repack them and put them back in the hub. Don't start flip-flopping races and shit. That's a no-no. But since these are turning so slow and they're not a high-load bearing, I'm not worried about it for this. So, now that we got the viewer warning out of the way, and this is normally where you find out, although it's still pretty heavy, this is normally when you find out the gun's out of grease. If you don't got a bearing packer like this, get one. You're missing out. You just start pumping, and it'll start coming out of the bearing. And I normally go a little extra because I like to use the grease. You pump it till it looks like that, if you can hopefully see it. Then you spin the top back off. And then you take the bearing and get all the crap off the inside and smear it around on the outside so you got plenty of coverage. And we can go ahead and put that on there. And then get our other bearing and set the hub on. And technically you don't have to pre-pack these bearings because this is a greasable hub. There's Zerk in it right there. But if you want to save on pumping, you just pre-pack them. It's faster and easier, and although slightly more messy. Whoops. Almost fell. Normally I'd have more bench space to this, but Dad still got projects going, but I'm working up here because this weather's got my sinuses all jacked up, and it's warm and dry up here.
And you can't be too careful with the coronavirus going around. Because, you know, everybody's dying. Now you got that bearing in. And it's all nice and slimy. And I went and got, because none of them matched, these are a 5/8 18 nylock jam nut, not that one. Went and got a new jam nuts for all of them, because the other ones I didn't really help. It helps if you put the washer on there. I didn't trust the old one. Well, there was only two. No, 3 of them had nylocks and 2 of them had stovers that didn't actually lock anymore. So I hopefully you can see. I just opted to get brand new lock nuts. No good way to hold this. There we go. And trust me, you want to make sure your lock nuts are good, because when when I first bought that pipe plow, it had the curved coulters on it, which were a thing back in the day. They were supposed to make it where you didn't need cover boards. They work all right in light ground like sand, but they suck in clay, at least in my experience that I had with them. And I was plowing back here behind the house and I had a damn coulter come off because the nut came loose. That don't feel too bad. Yeah. Like to get a little more out of it. Okay. Might need another washer. For some reason this feels weird. Well, I don't like that, but I'm bottomed out on the threads. And I don't know why, because you shouldn't be. Now the damn thing's not going to want to come apart for me. There we go. I had one of these that when I took it apart, it was funny. I'm wondering if that was this one. It's almost like they machined this. I don't know if they machined the spindle too long or what, because when I took, and it's got to be this one, when I took one of them apart, the spindle was a shade bit longer, and it had an extra washer. I'm guessing it was that one, so we're going to throw a washer on there. And like I say, this will all probably get rectified next summer. So probably going to tear all these apart, bore and sleeve this, and bore and sleeve that to get everything tightened back up. Put a pin in that. Probably rebush that to get it kind of somewhat back tight, because these things are sloppy. Like I said, I'm pretty sure this guy didn't know what a grease gun was. And it was one of them deals where the guy right across the road, you could tell bought his equipment, and probably 10-15 years down the road, it looked just as good as it did rolling off the showroom floor. And then you had this guy. Don't get me wrong, he was a really nice guy, but I don't think maintenance was the #1 priority around that farm. It's better than what it was. Still not ideal, but it's at least workable. Now, when I took these apart, it was blatantly obvious that most of the water that got into these bearings came between the front cover and the Coulter. So, anyway, what I'm going to do, and this will probably be one of the only times you'll ever see me use RTV on something, because I don't like using it. And actually I'd have preferred the gray or the black, but I forgot that our black tube dried up, so I'm going to go ahead and just use the blue so I can get this project done. But I'm going to put a bead right here, put the Coulter on, and then put a bead around here to kind of help keep some of the water out of this. And I've already got the Coulters. I went around where the hub is and sanded them down and shot a coat of primer on them just to give me a better surface not to seal on. Got all new bolts. Got all new stover nuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I opted to just replace all 4 Coulters with the ones that I took off the ripper, because the ones that were on this plow, there was like an inch smooth blade, and then the flute started, and on these the flutes start all the way out on the end. Not that it's that big of a deal, but it was going to annoy the shit out of me not having 4 of them the same. So I just opted to replace all 4 of them. There's a hunk of shit in the end of this thing, and it is making me mad. We should try to at least push out of the... there we go, now we got something. I don't know if this will actually work, but something's better than nothing. If they didn't have to sit outside all the time, it wouldn't be such a big deal, but they got to sit outside all the time because we ain't got any good spot to put the tillage stuff in. Ideally, everything would have sit inside, but when barn space is a premium, you don't really have that luxury. Yeah. At least it turns free now. Before it was all hung up and nasty. Oh, I lied. I forgot to grab the right socket. Never fails. Try to make a video and everything just all starts to happen at one time. But anyhow, some farmers out north of town needing a hydraulic valve rebuild off of 4-wheel drive. And there you go. Probably wipe some of that RTV off so you can't see it. Dirt's gonna take it off anyhow, but it's a little growly, but that's expected with the bearings and the shape they are. they'll run enough for if I get to do any plowing. Really the only thing I want to do this, or probably going to get to do this summer, is take it to the plow day here next month, which is kind of the push to get it done. But like I say, next summer it'll probably get all new bearings, and that'll get some attention so it's not all wiped out. But anyway, 4 more to go. Well, they sure go together a lot quicker than it takes to take them apart and clean them all up, because it took me like 3 hours to tear them all apart and clean them all up, and like 45 minutes to put them all back together. The only thing I still got to do is when I get them on the plow and get them set up, I'm going to take, well, got to replace that, but take those 3 cotter pins out and knock in roll pins like this guy. But I'll wait till I get them back on the plow. That way it's not trying to hang on to them and shit. So anyway, all I got left is to do the one on the drawbar, but that's going to wait till it's not raining. So anyhow, not too bad of a job, and I still got time to get this video up yet tonight. So that's it for this one. We'll catch y'all on the next.